My name is Jalala.
My name is Lorraine.
My name is Renee.
My name is Lynn.
My name is Jasmine.
My name is Danielle.
My name is Nicole.
My name is Claudine Scott.
My name is Carolyn Dawson.
My name is Jasmine LaFleur.
My name is Janera.
My name is Shawnetta.
My name is Scarlett.
My name is Rachel.
My name is Khadijah.
My name is Taylor.
My name is Maya Kandaker.
My name's Aku Ajibolosu.
My name is Milan Finney.
My skin is black. My arms are long. My hair is woolly. My back is strong. Strong enough to take the pain inflicted again and again. What do they call me? My name is Aunt Sarah.
I have one half brother, and we didn't grow up together. We just share the same father. And we both grew up I grew up in a town called West Orange. My brother grew up in a town called Bloomfield. And our parents wanted us to live in areas where we wouldn't be negatively influenced.
I am a military brat, so I was born in Alexandria, Louisiana, and we moved around a bunch. My sister was born in Guam. My mom was stationed, her last duty station was in Maryland, Andrews Air Force Base, so that's where she retired at. And I grew up in Upper Marlboro, Maryland. That's not far from DC or Virginia.
My parents are both Dominican. I speak Spanish fluently. My childhood was great. I grew up with my grandparents and my dad. My mom lived here in the United States, so I didn't see her very often. But I had a river down the street from where we grew up, so I used to visit and go swimming a lot. We also lived by the beach.
I come from it was a mixed family. I have a brother on my mom's side, sister on my dad's side, and I'm the youngest of the three of us. Growing up, I kind of was raised as the only child in a way, since my brother and sister are a lot older than me. So it gave me a lot of time to do a lot of activities by myself, which I had a yearning to learn, always discover things, tinker with things. So naturally, I developed a interest in engineering and math and science.
I had a good childhood. I spent 9 years of my life in Vancouver. I had a lot of friends in the neighborhood, and I have pretty much all happy memories of my childhood. And then we moved to San Diego when I was 9 years old. So I spent my later elementary years and my high school, college, everything from then on in San Diego.
My parents are awesome. They got me into every sport growing up. So I was in gymnastics, basketball, dance, figure skating was the first one, golf, a lot of different things. And dance was the real thing that stuck for me.
My family had a business. We weren't poor, and we weren't rich. We were like right in the middle, but I always thought that we were just like everybody else. My family had a business, and then all the people around us had businesses. We didn't have a hood back then. It was just your neighborhood. It wasn't a bad area or a ghetto or the black area or anything, but there were all black people around us, and people worked and they had jobs. And it wasn't until later in the 80s when the gangs and the crack and all those things that came, AIDS and all those things that came along with it, so I realized that I was growing up in a different area than most people were growing up in.
I'm from San Diego, born and raised. I have a little brother. My mom's Filipino and my dad is African. I went to school, elementary school, I went to public school, and from then on I was sent to private school just because my dad did pass away and my mom thought it would be a better opportunity for us.
I'm an only child, and my childhood was
I think pretty normal. I grew up on a lot of military bases, so for a while it's kind of like being in a little bubble.
I grew up in St. Louis, Missouri. Graduated from college in Atlanta. Moved to Dubai for several years. Started my own company. Growing up, I had the love and support of my parents. And I believe in life, if you have the love and support of your parents, you just about can do anything because you know that support and love and nurturing is there.
My mother, when she met my dad, they were in Minnesota. And, you know, just going through life, she decided that she wanted to live in a house on the beach. And so my father found a little house in Imperial Beach. And we moved to San Diego, and then we moved to the house. So that's how I ended up here.
I'm the youngest of 7. I'm first generation American. So my family, they migrated here from Haiti. My dad went from Haiti to New York. My mom went from Haiti to Canada to California. Growing up in our household, it almost seemed as if we were not in the United States because my parents, they didn't grow up here. They both came here as young adults. So they definitely kept the values of where we were from. Definitely we had different values where we grew up. We were the only Black family where we were. I didn't really understand the racial dynamic at that time, being a kid, but I do remember hearing my siblings stating that maybe some neighbors didn't want their kids to play with us.
When you look at me, you probably can tell that I'm African American. And that part of myself I actually didn't identify with or realize, I guess, until I was maybe a teenager. I spent a lot of time in Bangladesh with my grandparents. I spent time with my cousins and aunts and uncles that lived here in the U.S. and in Canada. And when I became surrounded with other people that kind of looked more like me, more color, curlier hair, you know, I realized there was a whole other culture that I was connected to, but didn't realize that it was different.
But when I was around, I'm going to say 7 years old, I remember looking in the Sears and Roebuck catalog. And I remember thinking, geez, if only I were white, I could be in this magazine. And so I said to my babysitter, oh, I wish I was white. I have long hair and I'm tall like the other girls, but my skin is black, and so I'm never going to be in this magazine. And I think I cried about it. It was really important to me. But my babysitter, her name was Beverly Cunningham. I'll never forget her. This is the best lesson she ever taught me. She yelled at me and she said, don't you ever let me hear you say that again. You are beautiful just like you are.
You know, childhood was good. I mean, I was very shy. I felt at times that I was bullied, not necessarily by my siblings, but kids at school. I was picked on a lot. I think it kind of did a lot to my self-esteem. Then going into high school, it was really interesting because it was a private high school in La Cañada, California. I don't know if you're familiar with La Cañada, but it's a very upscale, predominantly white neighborhood. And so the girls that I went to high school with were predominantly white. It was also a boarding school, so you had girls from all over the world, and that was actually pretty fascinating. But I think high school was my major introduction into racism.
High school was okay. I'd like to say when I first went to high school in the United States, I didn't really have a lot of culture shock initially. Because of TV, you kind of are anticipating certain things, and I got a lot of what I was anticipating.
Growing up was a little interesting for me because I went to private school most of my adolescence and younger life. Then I went to public school starting 6th, 7th grade in a Latino-based school. And then in high school, I went to like a white school that didn't know they were taken over by Latinos.
Growing up in grade school, I always felt other and knew that I was different from my peers because I was the only non-white person in my classes for many years. And that really kind of formed the backbone of my identity, is not really fitting in, because when you're a kid, all you want to do is belong to the group. You want to fit in, you want to look the same, act the same, and I couldn't do that. The most popular girls in my class were blonde-haired, blue-eyed, apple cheeks and all that, and I looked different. I had brown skin, I had dark hair, my hair didn't do the same things that theirs did, and so no matter how much I wanted to be one of the popular girls, it just never really happened for me.
I think I wasn't aware of like race in general until we moved to Maryland because just the culture was different.
And a lot of my youth I spent overseas. So it was never so much as like what nationality, like what ethnicity you are. It was, are you American or not?
I think the first time I realized I was Black was when I was in elementary school, about 4th grade. I was a foreign student. I was learning how to speak English. And I remember we were in the playground and we were playing, and I remember we were trying to play a game and we were supposed to pick partners, and somebody didn't pick me. And I was kind of upset, and I was wondering, like, why was I not picked? And then one little girl was like, oh, you're different. And I didn't quite understand, like, what do you mean different? She's like, your color, you're different. And I was like, oh, okay. And then I went home and said to my mom, like, oh, Mom, like, we're different. And she's like, what do you mean? And I'm like, well, our color of skin is different. That made me feel kind of left out.
There was only one other Black family on the block, and my next door neighbors, it was 2 boys around my age, and they had every piece of sporting equipment ever. So that was one big, I don't know, just difference that I noticed right away was maybe a sense of privilege that I didn't really know how to voice that or even interpret that at the time. Is they had basketballs, they had kickballs, they had bases for us to play in the street and run around the bases. They had hockey goals, hockey sticks for everybody to play with. So that was when I realized I was Black.
I noticed that there were certain places that I had trouble going because I didn't feel like I had boundaries. I was very open, I guess, about things that I liked.
However, I remember in class, we were doing teamwork, group work where you paired with someone, and there was a guy that I was paired with, and I remember he was really cute. I remember that fact that, oh, he's cute, but I don't think he wanted to be paired with me. I remember him just not even wanting to collaborate on the same desktop table. And I remember feeling the rejection. I don't know if the rejection was based on my skin color or the fact that maybe I wasn't cute enough for him. I don't know what that was about, but I remember the rejection. I didn't internalize it, but I've never forgotten it.
I think I noticed Blackness for the first time when I moved to Southern California. Being in areas that were predominantly Spanish speaking, it was different. It was like, okay, wait, they're brown, but they're a different brown than me. And it was like, okay. And then feeling, there was a lot of subtle racism. And I didn't understand it. I knew what it felt like, but I didn't understand what it meant. It took me a long time, probably high school, before I really saw or understood, wait a second, this person won't date me because not only am I Black, but other things. So it was just kind of like, wow, that's a thing.
Yeah, the first time I think I realized that I was both Black, I guess, and a woman, I was in the 3rd grade. So I was 7, maybe 8. And I had a really huge crush on a boy in my class, and a lot of my friends knew, but I hadn't told him yet. And we were in the cafeteria, and my very close male friend was like, I'm just gonna tell him for you. and he was sitting at the table, so the tables were kind of parallel, and my back was to him, and he was sitting on this side, and my friend leans over, and he's like, she likes you. And the guy responds, and I'm pretending like I don't hear all of this, and he says, I don't like her, she's black. And in that moment, you know, I was like, I guess I am. And I guess that's different from what you are. And I guess that's something kind of to not be desired. And that was the first time that it really, really like hit me. And that moment, I'm almost 24, has lived inside of me ever since. And so any rejection, any person that maybe just doesn't want to date me or doesn't see romance in me for any reason, that's always kind of in the back of my mind. Like, is it because I'm not, our humors don't mesh or our personalities don't gel, or is that kind of what it is? So that's kind of crappy.
I think one of the first times I realized I was Black was when I was probably about 9 years old. I was in a car with my dad and my sister. We were driving on campus at Point Loma Nazarene University. Some boys, white, young, I'm not sure how young because I was young also at the time, but I think they're a little older than me, but some white kids were riding their bikes. They threw water balloons at our car and said, F you, N-word, to my dad. So that is the first moment that I realized that there's hatred because of the color of my skin.
By the time I was 4 years old going to school, I remember this for the first time. God, she dressed me up like a nerd, bro. My God. But anyway, she dressed me up this cute little like skirt and this cute little like white top and very uniformy, similar to how kids go to school in Haiti. And she got me penny loafers and cute little white socks. I looked like a little mini Michael Jackson. It was insane. So, but before I went, she, took me by the hand and she goes, Lynn, before you go out and go to school, I want you to know that people will look at you and they will see your skin first. Do you understand what I mean by that? And I'm like, yes, they will see my Black skin first. And she goes, they will see you as Black before they see you as anything else. Okay? So you need to make sure you present yourself in a proper manner. You speak proper. You're always clean. You always look good. And you always put your best first, because they're looking for you to fail.
In second grade, I was in a classroom with another little boy named Todd, and we were the tallest kids in the classroom. And we were getting ready to play a game, and the teacher had asked for everybody to hold hands. And I gravitated to his side of the room because I knew we were just like the tallest kids, and that was my connection to him at that point. And I reached to grab his hand, and he immediately kind of just threw my hand down, and I was confused.
The first time I ever got called a nigger would be the first time I thought that was a different thing. And that was when I was a very little girl. I probably would have been like 7 or 8 years old over my cousin's house. And they had a community pool in the apartment complex. And I was there were a lot of kids in there. And I was swimming and not even thinking about it, just swimming, having a good time like a kid. And one of the other kids said, get this nigger out the pool. And that, I just remember being upset, not crying or not knowing how to feel. I remember just going, my cousin was older, but she wasn't my age. She was my mother's age. And she really just didn't do anything about it. There wasn't anything to do about it. She just said, don't worry about that. They're ignorant or something like that.
I think in 5th grade, the second experience of racism, at least I thought, was when there was a difference. I was in I don't know why I'm emotional about that, but I was in a science fair, and my project was to do something on behavior modification. So my mom took me to school with her. She was in college at the time, and we got an albino rat and trained it to ring a bell when it's hungry. Okay. But everyone noticed what was happening before the fair. So they saw the reaction of the animal when he was hungry and when he went to ring the bell and got his chocolate and water. Everybody saw that. So who wound up winning the fair was, I don't remember her name exactly. I'll say it's Laura, something like that. She had a rock collection. You know, the ones that you get from like these little places, little box of rocks, of quartz and different kind of rocks. And she was not there. Pause. Okay, so at the end of the contest, the science fair, the teachers deliberated and they decided to give first place to her and second place to me.
So being at a predominantly white school, there's definitely racial tension. It's the first time I had ever been called the N-word. Never thought that would happen in my life. It was a really big ordeal. I had a professor. I got like a C on an exam, and he came up to me and said, "Do you know what? I really think that you can do better for your community." And I didn't understand that because my dad is a doctor. So I was like, "My community? Like, what do you mean?" And he's saying, "Yeah, you know, for the Black community, they're looking up to you."
I mean, I do remember as a young kid, my mom would point out, so my mom's Black and my dad's white. So my mom would point out every so often, "Oh, that kid's like you." And I would look, but it didn't mean anything to me, you know? It was just more people for all I knew. I was just like, it's another kid, you know? It wasn't until we moved to Hawaii. I was in 6th grade. And one thing about Hawaii, if you've ever been there, is everybody's very proud of their nationality, their ethnicity. They know like all their backgrounds, you know, and a lot of them can list off like half a dozen just off the cuff, you know. So I went to a school that was off base for the first time, and I was in 6th grade, like I said, and I remember one of the kids asked me what nationality I was, and I said American, and then everybody laughed, and I was like, I don't get it. And then she's like, no, like, what race are you? And I was like, oh, well, my mom's Black and my dad's white. And then, like, for me, I was just like, oh, that's interesting that they even wanted to know that. You know, it wasn't like even a thing for me.
My older sister and I, we were in high school and we were having lunch somewhere at a, you know, little cafe in Pasadena. And, you know, we're just doing our own thing. And a woman who worked there walked up and just swept the floor around us. You know, it was just the most insulting thing. And we just kind of looked up at her like, what the heck are you doing? I think it's little things like that, going into to supermarkets, going into department stores where we were followed. You know, my mother paying for something and they're asking for 3, 4, 5 forms of identification. You know, my parents, you know, had to explain that, you know, we're set to a different standard. You know, we're not credible enough.
That was kind of the beginning of being like submerged in culture for myself. And I learned in 3rd grade, somebody came over to me and said, we were having a conversation and they were saying like, you're African American. And I was like, I don't know what you're talking about because I was born in San Diego. I don't know what that is. And he was like, yeah, but you're African American because like your skin, like you're somewhere from Africa, like your ancestors are from Africa. And I was like, I still don't know what you're saying because nobody's ever told me this before. And so then I got home, like I think that same night, maybe somebody told my father that I didn't know that I was African American, and he told me that I was. And I was like, first of all, I felt so silly because I argued with that guy. I was like, no, I'm not. But so that's how I found out that I was Black or African American. And so I think I really valued the fact that I wasn't like born being told like, hey, like you're African American, because I don't think my father wanted for it to be something that I really deeply was like defined me. I think that he wanted for me to be defined by things that I was interested in and things that I admired and to be surrounded so much by people of different cultures. I have aunts and uncles that not all of them are blood, but they're all from different places like Japan, or, you know, some of them were white and some of them were Mexican and some of them were, you know, European and from Australia. So for me, my family, my scope of family and culture and identity was so broad. It wasn't like, oh, I am this and you are that. It's we're all together. And there's a lot of subconscious on what Black is and how that comes across. No matter how loving or kind you are, some people just will not be able to hear you. They won't, they can't, and they'll hear something else. whatever it is that's their trauma or their past experience or what they think or what they're afraid of. A lot of times it'll be, whatever their fear is, it's assigned to somebody that feels like you. And it took me a long time to be able to see that. It hurt quite a lot to feel like I had friends and then suddenly they were gone because I was in a different place.
For the longest time, my hair was a struggle for me. My mother is not Black. She's a Bengali woman. And so she doesn't know what it's like to be a Black woman. I love her to death, and she taught me a lot, but she doesn't know what it's like to be a Black woman. And when I was 13 years old, or I think maybe the first time was when I was 11 years old, actually. When I was 11 years old, she permed my hair because it made it easier for her. She didn't know how to deal with my thick, curly hair. I would sit down in the living room every Sunday and she would brush out all the knots and put it into a neat little braid. And I hated it. And she hated it because I was so tender-headed and I'm always pulling away. So when I was 11 years old, she permed my hair. It was perfectly straight, easy to manage, and I felt like I didn't even know what to do with it.
Decision to grow my natural hair, that was like a big deal. Like once, I had a perm, a relaxer for 30 years of my life. And then not until it just started taking my hair off, my hair breaking out and my hair falling out and having short hair, did I say, well, fine, I'm just going to have an afro. And that was just like me conceding to the world that maybe, and then it didn't even end up like that. It's just like, you don't even know what to expect anymore. I'm going off baby pictures when I had a little afro when I was in first grade. And now I can't even grow one, even though sometimes I want an afro, and then I couldn't grow one now. And then realized, oh, how is that relaxing my hair for 30 years and then my hair ends up growing out straight?
I didn't like my hair. I didn't feel comfortable with my hair because I didn't have straight hair and I had to constantly be straightening it, relaxing it. I also thought that I was, not attractive compared to the white girls because I was Black and I was different.
I remember being in elementary school and one of my closest friends was this little blonde girl. And I remember asking her how do you get your hair to go down your back, And she's like, I just stand in the shower and it just does that because she's 7, of course, So that next Saturday, wash day, I stood in the shower for 45 minutes clean, waiting for my hair to go down my back.
2 years ago, I always chemically straightened my hair. And I think my mom, growing up, she too was programmed that, straighter hair was better, easier to manage. And as time went on, I bought in, I drank that Kool-Aid.
Then again, when I was 13, my mom permed it again because, again, just to make things easier. And the first time that I did it, I'd had it done in Bangladesh. So they do a completely different type of perm than we do here in the States. You wet it, you do whatever, it's still straight. We did it the second time here. And I did not know how to take care of permed hair, relaxed hair. I didn't know the hair regimens that you have to do, that you can't do certain things before you go to the salon. I got it permed that one time and then just went about regular business. And my hair looked a mess. For all of 9th grade, my hair looked a big frizzy mess because it was permed but not taken care of. So now I was that Black girl with the crazy hair. And I didn't know what to do with it. And I was too ashamed to tell people that I had permed it because Black girls are telling me, you have nice hair. You have good hair. Why would you do that to it? Why would you chemically relax it? And white people don't understand what's going on with my hair. So I'm in this weird transition where I don't really know what to do with myself and how to manage my own body. And I'm too ashamed to ask other people because I'm not Black enough for the Black girls and I'm too Black for the non-Black girls. So now I'm somewhere in between where I'm trying to figure out exactly how to manage this.
I feel like we have been made to believe, and when I say we, I'm kind of talking about me and my sister, is that the standard of beauty is white, and even Black women, the way we make our hair is to look like white hair. The things that my hair can do naturally is not considered professional. And that's something that has caused a lot of distress, as well as I mean, I would even say anger, because why is it that what my hair does is unkempt, it's not professional, but what a white person's hair does, that's professional. So I have to go out of my way and spend hours and hours and hours doing things with my hair to make my hair look like white hair.
Especially in Alabama, it was apparent that having, straight hair was preferable. But also in growing up in DC, it's like, if you don't have your weave laid, just right, or the right kind of, Remy hair, or, that kind of hairstyle is like a 50-50 mix, 50% of like natural hairstyles and then 50% of added on hair, dyeing, and all of that.
Like my mom used to tell me all the time, and I never appreciated it before, but like my hair can do a lot of cool things. And it's like responsive in a way that like other hair types are not, and like, yeah, it's kind of a hassle to continue to moisturize and like sleep on satin and silk and like do all of this stuff to it to like make sure that it's healthy, and the fact that like it is very fragile, but I think that's great. Like it's another opportunity for me to come back to myself, like I talked about, to practice self-love in my hair care routine,
About 2 years ago, I decided to go natural. And natural for me meant no more relaxing my hair, no more straightening my hair, no longer fitting into that European standard. And I feel like that's when I acknowledged, like, all right, I am done pretending to be this person that society wants me to be, which is white and perfect and straight. And yeah, and one day I just woke up and I was like, no, I'm not doing it. The relaxers were a lot for my scalp. I have very like sensitive skin. So it would take like a couple weeks for my scalp to stop hurting. And one day I was like, no, I'm not doing this shit anymore. Why am I doing this? Why am I not accepting myself? And that was my first step. I chopped my hair off, and 2 years later, I am never going back. That was the beginning of my self-love.
I think it was my senior year of college where I said to somebody, I had straightened my hair. And at that point, I finally said to somebody, I think I like my hair better curly. And my friend said back to me, yeah, definitely. Your hair is way better curly. That's your natural hair. That's how it grows out of your head. I think it looks nice. You don't have to do anything to it. And that's when I stopped like trying to fit in with everything, trying to like straighten my hair and make it look like what I thought society wanted it to look like. And every now and then I still struggle with that. Even recently, I'm applying for a job as a doctor. Soon I'll be graduating medical school. I need to get a residency spot. And every application comes with a picture. So I have to send these residency programs a picture of myself. I struggled with this a lot. I said, how should I have my hair in this picture? How should I have my hair in interviews? And at the end of the day, I said, my hair needs to be straight in the picture. And I feel ashamed of that sentiment, but also I feel like I want to get a job so badly that I don't want to offend anybody straight off the bat. I don't want to come in and say, look at my big curly hair and judge me based off of this picture before you even know me. So I said, you know what? I'll just straighten my hair. They'll see that on the application, but when I go in there, I'll be myself. When I get the job, I'll be myself. And I think we do that a lot. We try to disguise ourselves as these, respectable people that we think that people want us to be. And then after the fact, we're like, okay, why do they expect us to behave this way and hide our blackness? And it's because we started out that way, where it's a never-ending cycle. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy where people keep telling us this is what it means to be professional. You have to be more fitting the European standard. And then, so we do that, and then we're like, well, why does everybody expect us to do that? So it's something I still struggle with to this day. And I feel like I'm very much proud of who I am, but I still sometimes walk through the halls of the hospital and wonder, are people looking at me and saying she's very unprofessional? Why is her hair so big? And then I look at the white women and I say, their hair is down. They don't have it tied up. They don't have it in a bun the way that I always do, because I think that is how people want to see me. But I don't think I'm at that point in my career yet where I can shake it up a little bit, but I'll get there eventually, hopefully.
First off, people have been natural for years, so it's not like it's a new thing. But when the natural movement first started, as far as like natural hair is concerned, it was this thing where I had like a lot of people coming up to me like, oh, I could never do that. Or like, what's going on with your hair? Like, what's the deal? And I was just like, it looks like this. This is how it grows. And like, also weaves are expensive. Like I can't be a college student. I was in my freshman year of college at San Francisco State, spending like $100 minimum on a weave, like a month, working at Jamba Juice. Like what? What is that? It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, but women in general have that pressure to look a certain, like not just Black women, but white women too. Like as far as augmentation is concerned, and makeup in general, my goodness, makeup is, I think, a burden for a lot of women because one, they're spending so much money to buy these products and then hours in the mirror to apply it. And, you know, hair on top of that, it just seems like a woman's job is to look good and not to actually make a change in the world.
The hugest part about it is ownership. It's ownership, and also not feeling like that means that you have to be a certain way. You don't have to be anything just because you're a Black woman or a Black person. You can be whoever you want to be.
I think when I was younger, I think especially in school, because in school, it was, you know, history was, okay, there were slaves, and they go through the whole thing, which is like just so upsetting. And then there's Martin Luther King, and then there's that, you know, you really, so I think there was a period, I think when I was much younger, it was like, you know, I wish I wasn't Black.
I don't even know the idea of feeling inferior. I just think the idea of feeling different and limited is more pervasive.
It's more so the opportunities that I'm able to pursue. Even if I pursue them, the mindset on me being Black and female could still be different.
I hear this a lot from male managers that you're very pretty. What does that mean? If I wasn't a pretty Black woman, would you not hire me?
I have never felt inferior because I'm Black. In the contrary, I feel like we're this tribe. We have this essence, this connection, this love, not just for ourselves, but for each other. I mean, look in public when we see each other. We always nod. We always acknowledge. No other race does this.
Nope, I never thought I was inferior to others because I'm a Black woman. I think, like I said, that's my advantage. That's like my superpower.
You know, look at, you know, other than Martin Luther King, I mean, what contribution did we have? And then as you get older and you realize, you kind of peel through the layers of history and just the wonderful things that, you know, we built this country.
You know, there's times when I was in high school where I know that if I were Caucasian, I definitely would have gotten a role in a play, or I definitely would have been chosen to represent the school in like a commercial or in a magazine.
I have felt that I would have more opportunities if I wasn't Black.
When I hit like junior high, oh my gosh, in junior high, like I felt so looked over, you know, every time like I had a crush on a guy, he had a crush on my friend. Yeah, that was pretty much the story.
I went to Oakland High, and this lighter, fair-skinned boy saw some interest in me. And so I automatically felt like he was just playing because, you know, I'm dark. Like, why you, and you're light, first of all, let's go there. You're a light-skinned guy. They don't do that.
I feel like that's a constant thing that I'm actually like still in the process of undoing. And I think it'll be a lifetime thing that I'm undoing.
In the workplace, I feel inferior. I'm automatically undermined. Because I'm Black, I'm not as smart as or as fast as. You know what I mean? Until I put in the work. And then I gotta be faster than everybody after that. It's like, really?
I feel like I have to be twice as good in most cases to even walk into the door.
When I first started my job, there was a lady who I worked with, older white lady, and she told me she was complaining about some issues she had as a woman. She felt like her voice wasn't being heard. And she leaned over and she told me, like, it's not about you being Black here. It's about you being a woman. That's what's gonna like prevent you from being successful. And I just thought, like, have you ever been Black?
In other areas of my life, I do not feel inferior. I feel like I'm just as good as everybody else, if not better. And I had to train myself on that.
People don't realize what all we have to deal with. I mean, being a Black woman in general, you have the double jeopardy. It's, you know, you're Black and you're a woman.
You have to start to remove your feelings about your state, because the only thing that I can continue to be is Black and female, you know, and so to feel bad or inferior about being Black and female, it doesn't help anyone, and especially me.
A golden girl, I take the time and refine diamonds. These lights are so blinding.
Being Black to me means being rooted.
Strength, perseverance, tolerance.
One thing I can say about Black women, we are strong even when we don't want to be strong, but it's not about just being strong. We have a foundation where we try to mold things together.
Black women, we kind of been hidden in a way, hidden figures. And I feel like Black women kind of have been the backbone of America. It's like America's best kept secret.
Being Black is the certainty that there will be certain hypes around who we should be and how others want to be us. But then there's also the plight of the stratified systems that are in place to hold us back and filter out the availability of resources for us.
Black culture is pop culture. I quite enjoy being part of that.
Being a Black woman just means living my best life, you know, and it's hard. Some days are harder than others.
I don't know, like you can take it a lot of different ways for being Black. Like when I think about being Black, I automatically like assume some of the like hurt and anguish that, you know, people in my family in the past have had to deal with. But at the same time, I think growing up in this time is, I have more opportunity, you know, and especially now when everybody is non-conformist, non-binary. You know, I do drag sometimes as a man, and I'm trying to find a makeup artist to transform me into a white male.
In my workplace, like I work in a restaurant, and just the other day, an older lady called me over, an older white lady, and she calls me over to her table, and I'm thinking she maybe needs assistance with something, and I come, and she's like, "Come here," and I lean down, and she just caresses my hair, and that's not the first time that has happened to me in my place of work. And what do you do? What do you do in your place of work when someone, at the risk of sounding dramatic, violates you in that way? What gives you the right to touch another person? And it gets written off as curiosity, or oh, it's so cool. I just had to.
It just really makes me think of my parents and everything that they've gone through to get where they are, and all the sacrifices they made for me and how much they love me. So as much as I don't think the world is impressed by me, I feel proud of my Blackness because of my parents.
First off, let's address that being a female. I love being a female. I mean, we create life. We are the mother. We are the nurturers. We are the love. And being Black, shit, that just adds to the topping. Like, I am more bomb and more awesome because I am a woman, but I'm also a beautiful Black woman.
The first thought I had was Beyonce. Like, that was like, and not that like being a Black woman means being Beyonce. But like, I just watched her homecoming special on Netflix and the Coachella concert that she did. And like, it like there's just so much creativity and like so much of like herself in it. I think of like the Lemonade album too, I think that was the first. There's a SNL skit where They talk about how like the Lemonade album was the first time that white people realized Beyonce was black.
It's representing for who we are, not only as a female, which we are a minority, but as a Black female. I've had the privilege of dedicating my time to young women. I have been coaching cheerleading and youth sports for about 14, 15 years now. And just showing that these young ladies that just because you're not what the normal looks like doesn't mean that you can't advance at it.
I'm constantly thinking about my blackness as a young Black woman in this country. It affects pretty much everything that I come in contact with.
We're not a lot of what, people say we are. We're a lot more than that.
At a certain point in my life, I found myself surrounded by a lot of African American people, Black, Caribbean, African, whatever, all part of the diaspora, and started to realize that there was a different type of culture and people that looked like me. And a different part of me kind of awakened that I wasn't really aware of before.
And I feel like that's what makes me work so much harder in school and in my occupation. It's because I know I have an eye on me. People are looking at me. I feel like they're looking at me to fail or to fall into the stereotype when it's just a stereotype. That doesn't mean that's how Blacks actually are.
I don't identify as white, obviously, but I'm still learning what Black means to me because there are so many different definitions of Blackness.
It's one of those things where it's, if I were to mark off on a sheet and I had to choose one race, nobody would probably bat an eye if I picked Black. But if I picked white, they might be like, oh, do you want to double check that?
Oh, Black culture has got all these layers and all of this. There's so much variety within it, and in every way, from Black music to Black skin color and Black hair and everything about Black culture there's so many different parts of it.
It's actually very complicated because I see myself as being Black when I look in the mirror, but I don't know what that means. My parents always told me that, I'm just as good as anyone else, so I believe it. So, I see some people who are not Black who I really would not want to be.
We are Black women in America. We can do anything that anybody else can. We have the same opportunities, even if there are prejudice and racial biases. Don't let that stop you. Walk over it. Kick the door down.
It's really interesting. I dated this guy, and he's white, San Diego born and raised, and then he went to Africa for about 10 years. He did not go there on a cushy, fancy job. He did the whole backpack thing. Let me just figure out money and food and where I'm gonna live. And he said to me, you can be like us. You can talk like us. You can walk like us. You can speak like us. You can do anything like a white person, but we will never, ever be able to be like you. Ever. We can try, but it's always awkward. It is always weird. Even if we're fluent to the language and the culture and we can dress and dance like you, we will never be like you. And you live like us. You have mastered this whole whiteness, but we will never be able to master Blackness. It's just never gonna be in our grasp, in our reach. We wish.
We're just everything. That's what a Black woman means to me, everything. We encompass everything on this planet, in this world, and we just make the best of it.
My Black women running the nation, scheming more power, how to join her up, never be the Mason, or the War Queen, nanny from Jamaica, covering ground, acre by acre, this is a PSA, I suggest you go MIA.
Well, the way I saw Black people depicted on TV was just, it was both good and bad.
They were very contrasted in a sense. So there was Good Times, and then there was Thelma, and then you had Lena Horne, some of these women that would show up on media. So I would see that on just regular TV.
They were far in between of Black women You would see Cherry on Punky Brewster. There was a variety of them because it was more up and coming in the 80s. I am an 80s baby. I was born in 1980. So you can see where there was this emergence where we were gaining more screen time.
TGIF on ABC, where they had Family Matters and just like all of the black shows in the lineup.
So you would see it more of a normalcy. And it definitely had some identifiers where I could relate to the characters and the people that I saw and make me understand that it was possible if I chose to go that route.
I mean, it's probably not great now, but we watched a lot of The Cosby Show, and Sister Sister was really great.
For sure, I watched the Cosbys, you know, as far as, you know, seeing kind of like what a family was, but I came from a broken home, so even that was kind of like, that's not real.
I don't think I still had a real connection that was me. And it was just, those were characters, those were stars or movie stars or some people that live far out in LA somewhere. And I'm a little old black girl living in Michigan.
I think for me growing up, seeing like what was around me, the way that my society was reflecting me to myself, every time I saw a woman on screen or in a magazine or something like that, she was usually like the sassy best friend. She was the ghetto angry neighbor. She was not someone that the audience had to care about their life, you know? And I think, again, like that's how you're always like looking to find like where you fit. And so if I'm a dark-skinned girl, I'm seeing like, okay, the dark-skinned girl in this situation, in this situation, in this situation is the sidekick, you know? I guess I'm the sidekick, you know? And it just turned into me not valuing my own story, not thinking that I could step into my own story, not thinking that I deserve to be seen, to be known, to be the protagonist, because I never saw that.
I saw Iman, who was Somalian. She started to grace, some of the magazines and started a different kind of view of women. Now, there was Beverly Johnson and some others too, but as far as a darker complexion woman that kind of resembled me or that I kind of related to, I think that's when I kind of to notice her in magazines, because otherwise it was pretty much something not like me.
Yeah, they try to pick the most non-threatening black woman they can find to post up, and it's never, ever, ever a woman of my shade. I am a chocolate-skinned woman, and my skin is threatening. My skin means loud, overbearing, rude, just curt. And light skin means quiet and docile and sweet.
I was dating a white guy earlier this year, and like he asked me, I was telling him about my story of unlearning racism and all that stuff, and I was talking about like the phenomenon of seeing black women in like magazine ads and stuff always being off to the side or not featured at all. And he was like, does it really matter to see like black women like be centered? And he wasn't trying to be an asshole. He was like genuinely asking. But I was like, yeah. And like, of course you wouldn't know that because you see yourself everywhere as a white man. Like you get to be everywhere.
But that's how they see it. And I don't see women unless it's Serena Williams on a billboard. Other than that, it's, someone else of, ivory skin tone or whatever, like on the billboard show, showing what black woman is. And it's, nah. Again, we're everything. We're so much more than that.
I'm a melanin child. All you wanna do is run a little love. 1, 2, 3. All you wanna do is run a little love. I'm a melanin child. All you wanna do is run a little love. 1, 2, 3. All you wanna do is run a little love. I'm a melanin child.
When it comes to love and relationships, the idea that I think never crosses someone who's not black's mind. Okay, this person that isn't, reciprocating romantic interest in me, is it because I'm black? Is I think whether we want to admit it or not, across the board, if I asked 1,000 black people, the first question we're going to ask ourselves, if we're romantically interested in someone who is not black and they do not reciprocate that interest, the first question we're going to ask ourselves, even if it's just for the smallest second, that's the first thing. And someone who's not black just doesn't have that. It's not like, oh, do they not like me because I'm white? That would be absurd. I laughed myself. It would be absurd to think to someone that was white that could be a reason why someone wouldn't like them. And yet, as I have seen people, scrolling through their Tinders or what have you, there is not a pause on people of color. They will have all this list of no's. No guns, no hunting, no other women in their photos, no, gross, weird things. And they will pause on a man first, a white man, that has a gun in one hand and a fish in the other and like 12 girls behind them. And give them the benefit of the doubt and scroll through a few more photos before they say no. Before they will a black man, a nice black man.
When I did online dating, and some of them ask like which preference of race, and there were actually a lot of guys who would check off like every box except black. And I was just like, how can you like not include an entire race of people that are they're so different. Like, there's no, like, I don't get it.
Online dating, I just started like online dating again. And I stopped for a while because I read this statistic a couple of years ago about how like black women and Asian men are the least desired on dating sites.
It's hurtful because then as I see that, I think about myself, and I think about my face on a screen and someone, they don't even stop to look at facial features. Oh, great. Good cheekbones and pretty eyes or great eyelashes, this man, whatever. They see brown and it's a swipe. And it doesn't even cross their mind as being discriminatory or prejudiced or racist or any of those things. It's just, I'm just like not into black guys. And that feels fine to say. It feels so fine for people to say. And I think that is so absurd. And I think knowing that people are so okay with that, I'm not even gonna look at his profile. I just don't date black guys. Like no one's like, just don't date doctors.
Since I had read that statistic, which was I think like maybe 2015 or so, I would find myself like not getting, like there would be no traction. Nothing would happen. Meanwhile, I'd be like talking to my blonde friends or whatever, and they're like, oh my gosh, I have so many messages, so many likes. I can't even deal with all this, like blah, blah. And I was like, cool, that's not happening for me, And so I would get off and then I'd get back on and try like be hopeful, like maybe whatever. And I got off it like for the longest stretch in 2017 because I was on it and I was talking to my friend about it at her house. She just happens to be a white brunette girl. And she was like, you know what, like I'll try Hinge. Like, why not? Like, let's just like make a profile. And she made a profile and like within minutes had like 14 likes and like 7 new messages or something like that. I, in my 3 months had not reached that number, And I was like, this sucks. Like, this feels painful.
Like you could say, I'm looking for a heart surgeon that loves animals, that recycles, that is a vegan, that, plays 5 musical instruments. And there could be a black man that fits all of those things. He plays 10 instruments and he's a doggy heart surgeon, and all of these things. Doesn't matter. You swiped right when you saw that he was brown. Doesn't even matter.
When I see black men with women who are not black, I wonder, who are black women supposed to date?
The black men have been dating non-black women, and non-black men are dating non-black women, but there hasn't really been a strong group around black women.
My first love was Lebanese. And so as much as we loved each other and supported each other, he was accepted by my family, but I was not accepted by his.
Well, I definitely feel like the struggle to be different. I've heard from my previous partners that I've been with where they say, oh, you're not like the other black girls. They're loud, they're pompous. And I'm like, wait, I'm loud.
I've gotten from like my exes and stuff. They were like, "Oh, I thought you were totally hood, and I thought you were different, and da da da." And I'm, why did you think that? Because of the way I dress?
We had a true relationship because we related to each other, whether it was because of our age or our interests or just what we wanted out of our lives. We truly did relate, but none of that mattered because I'm Black.
As a Black woman, it's incredibly challenging in relationships because remember, it's who you see that's visible to you outside on those billboards, on those advertisements, on TV, in your phone. You know, if I go online dating, no guy's looking for me. I promise you that. If they're looking for me, they're looking for me bent over in a bikini.
So I've been told that I have a very non-approachable kind of face and stuff. And they're like, that's what made you look hard. And you're a softie and you do all these things. Like I'm into Broadway and I don't really listen to rap. And I would rather play my tenor sax instead of other things that people find enjoyable. But I've been told that. And then I've also been told like, oh my God, I'm so happy that you're Black and my family's going to love that you're Black. I'm like, why?
And I had a coworker who was Black, a Black male raised by a Black woman. His wife is white, and he gave me a list of things that Black women don't do and why he would never date a Black woman. And I'm looking at the list like, okay, what is this supposed to mean? I do all these things. We're smart. I guess one of the things where white women don't talk back. Well, maybe she doesn't have respect for herself. If somebody's doing something against you that they're not supposed to, you shouldn't just take it. You shouldn't just swallow it. So of course I'm gonna speak up for myself. But really, he probably was just hurt by somebody, which ruined the experience for him.
I think what happened is that I dated white men because, of course, I didn't like myself. And I always had this excuse that I don't like how Black men approach me. You know, like, what's up, girl? What you doing and stuff. Like, I just wasn't used to it, but I thought it was a disrespect thing. It's just a culture thing. And it's not like white people did any better job at walking up to you. They'd be like, oh, you're beautiful for a Black girl.
I am the fantasy. I am the token. I'm not looked at as wife material. And that is incredibly disheartening. And it makes it difficult to date, online especially, you know, because, I mean, statistics show you have blonde hair, blue-eyed, white, Asian, as a woman, they get the top clicks. Everybody else just gets flushed.
That's probably, you're gonna make me cry up in here. That's probably the saddest part of my life. I think that, you know, when you are, I talked about being successful and have achieved a certain level, that our men didn't come up with us at the same time. And so it's either, like I mentioned, you're either going to try to go with someone who maybe is at your level, but is not that into being a Black woman because they've already left the hood, they left that behind. They want a different type of woman, a different type of vibe, a different type of experience. Or you have to go the opposite direction where you might not make that much money. Then you have to deal with intimidation or what can I do for this woman? I really can't provide for her. So what does she want with me? And I've dealt with that more. I haven't really dated guys who were at a higher level or on the same level financially or educationally. I dated guys who were as smart as I, that probably barely finished high school or did finish high school, maybe a little college or not, but are intellectual giants that can keep up with anybody in conversation.
Black men and Black women, we are at different odds right now. Like, we're just not connecting in a way that I thought I've seen in the past with like my mom and her brothers and sisters and how they connected back in the 60s and all that. It's a different day.
I hear so many people, you know, say Black women have attitudes and we, you know, roll our heads and we get upset or we fuss and fight. And there are so many Black women who are not like that. And the minute you see anything like that, you should hit the door. Or maybe you should be a person that attracts a good Black woman into your world.
But there's some brothers, and a lot of them are like this, in my opinion. They just won't give that Black woman that reprieve or that benefit of doubt that we do. Like I said, that unprecedented loyalty that we have, which gets us put back 30 years because we waiting on Pookie and them to get their stuff together. I'm just going to say it.
Black power. Yes, a sister will start this revolution. Black power. Yes, she can.
I think it's quite ridiculous for people to assign intelligence based on a person's ethnicity or nationality or race. The reason being is because intelligence isn't necessarily a natural born talent. Natural born talent is someone maybe that's creative in drawing, even music, to create creative arts of things. When it comes to intelligence, you mold that. You mold that, you create that, you train that, you nurture that, you tutor that.
This happens all the time. I mean, a prime example is being Asian from, say, China or, Japanese or whatever, or even Indian, they're Indian, they're smart, they're good at math or science.
I think there is a disconnect in recognizing intelligence doesn't have a color. Intelligence doesn't even come from the access of resources, because a lot of times intelligence can be intuitive.
I always find that Blacks are regarded for their physical, abilities. No one really talks about intelligence with Black people. They talk about our abilities to do things, to break boundaries in sports and stuff like that.
Assigning color to someone's intelligence is not okay.
The reason why I think it happens is that they've been taught this subliminally. Maybe on purpose, maybe not, but somehow they've learned it, maybe through TV, just through interactions in life in general, work situations, whatever. I do believe that racism is rampant in this world. There are still major problems.
Even at my current position, when I first started, I've been there for 4 years, there were 3 Black girls and we sat next to each other, so 3 desks. So to us, we thought, like, psychologically, did they do this on purpose? Because we don't even have the same manager. So if you have the same manager, they place you together. And then I would get a phone call. Hi, Nicole, you have a call. I'm not Nicole. Somebody would get an email. Hey, Flory, somebody's at the front desk for you. I'm not Flory. Neither one of us look alike. We are all 3 different shades of Black. So it's just the psychological impact. I didn't understand. And just growing up, you just see how ignorant some people are in the world. And I wasn't raised like that.
But when you look at statistics and how many African American women are educated, I don't even know what to say. Like, is it me or are you just not getting it?
There's a lot of Black excellence going on that is not being talked about. There are a lot of Black people that think there aren't a lot of excellent Black people out there. They are there. They're doing things, but they're not advertising them. So you're left to think that there isn't enough of them.
But it's a very tired look and approach in view of African American women after all this time. And I'm very perplexed by why that's still even happening.
When we look at the real history, now that, this internet, we're doing this, but now we have to more people are going to put information out there. And then we find out Black people pretty much invented everything that you have, that you use in your life. It was some person of color that was involved in this light bulb up here and in that camera and in the clothes, how we wear our clothes today, the cars that we drive. And so you can't even use that anymore about color.
I mean, look at Dr. Shirley Ann Jackson. She's the first Black woman to get her PhD in physics from MIT. She's currently the president of Rensselaer Tech. So she, with her having done those phenomenal things, there are many students who look the exact opposite of her who couldn't even be accepted into MIT.
If you're raising scholars and kids who are going to Harvard in the Black community that have 0 opportunities, and they are going to Harvard when they're 15 years old, maybe it's 1 in a million of them, but somehow that rose grew up out of the concrete, to use that saying, that they were able to do. Just imagine. That's why resources are not put into our community, because there is a system of white supremacy that's already been set up that has focused its eye on making sure this segment of the population does not rise. Why is that? There is a reason why they're focusing so hard. Money, resources, time, equipment, bullets, legislation, all these efforts towards us.
The pigment of your skin should have the thought that that should have any type of influence on your intellect, on the brain, on your intelligence, on your capacity to learn things, the knowledge that you're able to possess is comical, is insulting.
People will come up and ask me, what do you do? And sometimes we'll play the game depending on who it is. I'll say, what do you think I do? Just to get some people's opinion on what they think I do. And I've gotten teacher, I've gotten, I think, like accountant kind of person, but usually definitely not engineer. And so I'll default to just, I'm an engineer. And some people that's okay, and some people that know about engineering will dig a little for what type of engineering. And I say aerospace engineering. And then some people think about it and they say, you must be really smart. And so kind of tried to work on my answer to that a little bit more. And I'm just like, yes, I am.
If I had the opportunity to be any other race or gender, I wouldn't take it.
Everything that somebody could say, oh, I don't like that, and they're this, and they're that, like, oh yeah, that's my favorite part of me. So you cannot like it if you want to, but I'm owning it because that's who I am. I don't know how else to be.
Black, African American, descendant of slaves, yes.
Black. If I could be any other race, I'd be black.
I wouldn't be anything else. I mean, maybe it'd be kind of cool to be like, have like equal parts of everything.
So for me, I'm very proud that I am African American. I'm very proud that I am a woman, and I wouldn't change that at all in this lifetime.
I would never change this, how I look or my race. I mean, I accepted the fact that I got this big nose on my head, and I love it.
Yeah, I would definitely choose this body still. Like this, yeah, 100%.
If I look out, I can see other races, women, where they don't get paid so well. They're not having the best home life. They're not having the best of the best.
If like one day everyone can look at everyone and be like, you're a good person, you're a bad person, based off of your actions, that would be utopia.
If I had to be any other race, I'd probably rather come back as a different biological figure than a human being, because the Black woman is the only fit for who I am, what I stand for, what I'm about, and what I am preparing my life for.
I would be Ghanaian.
I'd be Black, honey, because there's nothing better than that. Sure, yeah, we get slighted in society. We're considered the bottom feeders, but that's just the perception. That's not the reality or the truth. Are you kidding me? Kings and queens running shit in Africa, the first damn place anyone ever came from. That's my background. That's my history. That's your history. You think I'd leave that shit for something else? Absolutely not. I don't want to be a part of ancestors that have raped, murdered, killed in the name of whomever to pass over whatever and sit. No. I'm happy where I'm at. I'll be Black again 1 billion times over. I'm good.
Black. Again. And again. I don't know anything else about Black.
I'm a firm believer in reincarnation, and I really think that I am in this body as this person, as a Black woman, for a particular reason.
As much as we go through, I would never want to be a white person.
Nope. No. What's the fun in that?
If I could be another race just for a day, I would try it just to see how different people would treat me. Let's say I switched bodies with a white man. A white man who's the same engineer as me, same pay grade, same, education or whatever. I would be interested to see how he feels, like how it feels to be a white man in America, what opportunities that they get that are almost handed to them. I would just like to see what it feels like.
I think I would love to be a white man for a day. Oh my gosh. Holy moly, what it must be like to just wake up every day in the body of a white man.
Change races like forever? No. I mean, I feel like there's a certain willpower and like, you know, focus or drive that a Black woman has that I don't feel like people really understand. I mean, I'm very proud to be a Black woman, so I would never change my identity just to make my life easier. And I feel like if I was a different race, it definitely would be in some regards. So, you know, maybe for a day, just to see what it feels like.
To not care about a single thing. Oh, and God, I know they care about all they have things that they care about, but to just know that the president looks like you, that all of Congress looks like you, that you turn on TV, you're gonna find someone that looks like you. Just what that must be like. To not have to, for a second, search for someone anywhere, in a room, at a coffee shop, on the news, in politics, on a TV show, on a soap opera, or whatever. It looks like you. What that must be like. What stupid bliss that must be. I would be away just for a day. And I think I would be way over it.